From UFOs to ghost and psychic powers, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now and learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. If you own a shortwave radio, then you've probably already heard the story of number stations. Every so often, these unlicensed stations will interrupt their usual drone of static with bizarre transmissions, unidentifiable voices reciting strings of seemingly random numbers. Sometimes these voices speak English and sometimes Russian or another language. The number stations began broadcasting shortly after World War I and have continued since. Even today, we don't know what these messages mean. We do, however, have some very strange guesses. Here's where it gets crazy. While almost all investigators agree the strings of numbers must be some sort of code, no one's sure what these codes mean. According to Mark Stout, the historian of the International Spy Museum, tracking the origin of the broadcast is difficult and breaking the code is virtually impossible. He suspects the transmissions use a one-time pad system to encrypt their communication, meaning that the encryption key is random and changes with each message. So while internet and radio users may be able to listen to recorded audio of the broadcast or even catch one in progress, they have no way of decoding the message. This has led to a number of theories regarding the purpose of the stations, and these range from the plausible to the incredible. Some have claimed that the transmissions come from people lost in the Bermuda Triangle, or are even evidence of the infamous Men in Black. While these particular theories are typically ignored by skeptics, others are more difficult to dismiss. What if, for example, the number stations are the work of drug smugglers? Or what if it's all an elaborate hoax by radio pranksters? One of the most disturbing theories is, unfortunately, also one of the most plausible. What if governments are using number stations to communicate with spies and agents abroad? It's not as crazy as it might sound. In the late 1990s, the US government accused Cuban officials of using a number station to give orders to agents in the United States. And the motivation here is obvious. Since number stations are difficult to track and the encryption system is nearly unbreakable, it's a simple, safe way to communicate with spies without risking exposure. Even if someone manages to track down the transmission site, there's no way to locate the spies receiving the message. However, there are a few problems with this theory. First, if the number stations are so widespread, then why hasn't there been more coverage of these stations in the news? Second, why haven't more governments taken their concerns public? To those who believe this explanation, the lack of journalistic attention and the government denials are, if anything, evidence of government involvement. And there is compelling evidence that at least some governments do use number stations for espionage. For example, in 1997, Great Britain admitted that MI6 used number stations, and some scientists have succeeded in tracking down stations in Israel and the United States. Where does this leave us? Most of the evidence indicates that number stations are likely used for covert operations by several governments. And while growing numbers of shortwave radio enthusiasts investigate these stations, there are still few solid answers regarding the purpose of these stations, and with a few notable exceptions, the world's governments have remained silent. Is it because they have nothing to say, or is it because there's something they don't want you to know?
Yankee, Hotel, Foxtrot, Group 1, 0, Group 1, 0.